what I call freedom.
This is Liberty Green. Recently, I spoke to John Ramsey and Craig Phemister. John Ramsey served 33 years at Sullivan Correctional Facility in Woodburn, New York. Since his release, he has been working passionately to prove his innocence. Craig Phemister is a lawyer with the firm Napoli and Shkolnick, which has set up a pro bono wrongful conviction department to help prove people innocent. Thanks to their work and the work of firms and organizations like them across the country, more and more cases are being overturned every year. John Ramsey is a man on a mission, not just to clear his own name, but to help others do the same. Craig Phemister wanted more fulfillment in his career, and he is finding it by working on wrongful conviction cases. In this interview, Ramsey and Phemister tell their stories and explain some of the ins and outs of proving people innocent. Here's Craig Phemister.
I have known Mr. Ramsey for over 2 years. There are wrongful conviction projects out there, the Innocence Project, which became nationwide through Barry Scheck, and they only handled DNA cases. So we had an idea to develop an Innocence Project for people who don't really have a voice and nobody to help them. So we have a pro bono department in Napoli Shkolnick that reviews and works on wrongful conviction cases, and that's what we want to do. We want to help people who have evidence that they're innocent, and that can be through witnesses. It can be through, just the fact usually there's nothing tying them to the crime. It's shocking to me when I read these cases how a jury actually convicted these people. We also have a case just 2 weeks ago in Brooklyn and Brooklyn has been great about this. They have developed a conviction review department. They have come forward on their own and said, we didn't turn over this document 15 years ago to the defense attorney, and it would have shown that there were other people identified as the criminal besides your client. And that, at a minimum, warrants people a new trial. I mean, you can't convict somebody by hiding evidence from the defense attorney. With some effort, time, and some financial backing, we're able to prove that these people are innocent. And we get judges to listen, we get DAs to listen, the district attorney's office, and we're confident we're going to be able to do that with Mr. Ramsey's case as well. Mr. Ramsey is one of my favorite clients. I work with him every day, and he spent about 33 years in jail for a crime he didn't commit. And we are working on proving his innocence, as well as right now about a little over 15 other inmates that we're working on as well.
John Ramsey, can you give me a timeline, just briefly, about when you were arrested, what your sentence was, and when you were released?
Got you. I was arrested March 2nd, 1982 in Brooklyn, New York. I was sentenced in May, I think it was May 26th of 1983 to 25 to life. I spent 33 years in prison. I was released last year from being in prison, for 33 years. I know what it is to be in prison and not having, the financial resources or pretty much resources at all, that would truly have an interest on trying to help. Most of the time when guys go into prison and you convicted of a crime, people automatically, especially people outside of society that's really not a part of the system, they automatically think you're guilty. They don't know or have not studied the circumstances that got you to prison. So while I was in prison, when I came home, I always said, I'm going to do what I can do to get other people out that I know that's innocent, or other cases that I may review or come in contact with. I would do all I can. And in the process of that, I started the Liberty investigation firm. What I do is I go out, if I got to interview witness or I got to investigate, to get certain documents, because I have a passion for what I'm doing. I'm not going to, do it half. Since then, I met Mr. Phemister we developed a relationship, and we had an idea, to put our own little firm, or you could call it a unit, together, a wrongful conviction unit. He had a passion, for trying to help people that was wrongly convicted, and I had a passion as well. My thing is about going out and taking care of what's necessary to get it done and bring it back to them. I always tell clients that we have, I'm not a lawyer. I'm going to give you the best push I have. I'm going to make sure, the cases is being pushed forward because I know what it is to be there. If I got to go to courts, to file papers, I'll do every dirty work that most people won't do because, I did 33, I'm not coming home. I'm doing it all for them. And right now, I haven't even started living my life yet. I'm still living for people that's incarcerated.
What will it mean to you when you get your name cleared?
It means everything to me. You know what it is to being in prison, right? And, you working under them conditions, you living under them conditions. And the fact that you sitting up in that cell every day, you didn't commit the crime that you in prison for. And the only people that listen to you is the people that's under the same conditions you're under. If you write somebody, I done wrote lawyers that they're not really listening to me because I ain't got no money for them. You know what I mean? So they're not really looking for the type of righteousness that a person is supposed to look for. A person that's in prison for a crime he didn't commit. So when you look at lawyers that take on those type of tasks, those are different type of people, period. When I spoke to Craig, right, originally, we used to sit, and this is no lie, we used to sit in Dunkin' Donuts and talk about what we want to do. And he's pretty successful on his own. He don't really need this. You know what I'm saying? So the only thing that can draw you to this is passion. And passion and want to see the right thing done. And some people know the wrong thing has been done and still won't do nothing. There's plenty of people that's probably in the DA's office that know that certain documents that was never turned over. It happened in my own case where someone else was arrested for the crime the night the crime happened. They never turned over that document. And my own lawyer that I had 34, 35 years ago came forward and has given up an affidavit that he never had that document. Wow. My case is predicated on identification. He never included that into the pellet because he never had it to include in it. Wow. A lot of things that don't be turned over. Yeah. And a lot of things where you dealing with 18B lawyers, they're not trying to give you the best representations because they're not getting really no money for it.
What's 18B?
That's the appointed lawyer by the state. Everybody's entitled to a lawyer. If you can't afford one will be appointed for you. That's the 18B lawyer in New York State. Just to touch on something he said, it's interesting for a couple reasons. I had a personal injury practice that I did for many years. And after doing that for 15, 20 years, it's not as fulfilling as I wanted to feel after 15 or 20 years of being a lawyer. It was a case that I helped work on, a wrongful conviction case, where I really started getting interested in this and decided that's it. That's all I'm going to do from this point forward is try to help prove the innocent people innocent. And everybody would say to me, well, doesn't everybody in jail claim they're innocent? You know what? Maybe. But what I'm able to see when I go to all of these maximum security prisons and I meet with the inmates is this. Here's a man who has been in prison for 20, 25, 30 years. They are still filing papers. They're still tracking down witnesses. They have not given up. To me, if they're 2 years away from getting out of prison and they're still trying to prove their innocence, or someone like Ramsey here who is already out and he's still trying to prove his innocence, that, in my mind, means you're innocent, or it's a good sign of it. It makes me look a lot deeper. Because it would be very easy to just say, you know what, I'm tired of doing this. They have thousands and thousands of documents collected. They've spoken to witnesses. They've collected affidavits. It's expensive. It's time consuming on their heart, their mind, their financial resources. And this project that we have now does that for people pro bono because we want to see a change in the system, and that's really what it's about. And certain counties in New York have made that change. They have set up review units to make sure that the district attorneys are operating the way they should and turning over all the documents that they should. The more projects across the state are able to prove innocent, the entire judicial system will begin to realize a lot of mistakes were made over the last 20, 30 years, and it's time to correct them. We have one case where we learned, and the client didn't even know this when they wrote us, but we learned that the detective on the case, and really, one of two people who testified against our clients, was a detective who, about 10 years after our client was convicted himself for being a hitman for the mafia, which was going on before our client was convicted. Now imagine having that information at your disposal for a cross-examination of this detective. Well, isn't it true, detective, that you also murder people for the mafia?
Yeah. I think quite a few of our listeners are attached to what went on in Brooklyn and
right.
are trying to, acquire their freedom.
I would say most of the cases we get stemmed out of Brooklyn. Brooklyn in the 80s was a crazy place, and I'm optimistic, I guess, that things have changed, but we've still seen some pretty recent cases where, material was hidden from the defense attorney. So it just takes more people to want to fight it, to make sure that the path is followed straight and narrow under the law. It's not a perfect system. It's a great system, and we hope it's the best in the world, we're hoping, and that's what we have to monitor the system and make the changes where they're needed, and that's part of the mission and the goal.
Yeah. How do you get the people that you're defending, and are most of them released already, or? No,
we have, like I said, probably 15 or 20 clients, wrongful conviction cases ranging from 5 years to 34 or 35 years. Ramsey is one of the longest serving clients we have. We have two of them exonerated already, with the one who served 5 years and another one who served about 10 years. We get the cases mainly by word of mouth. And again, this is why Ramsey and I make a great team, because he, having been in jail for 33 years, he knows a lot of people in jail that spent time with him in the law library trying to prove their innocence. Those are the people we want to help. If you've been in jail 25 years and you've never once raised your innocence, it's going to be extremely difficult at this point. If you've fought all along to try to convince judges and the courts and the attorneys that you're innocent, we want to speak to you. I mean, those are the cases that, Ramsey is able to put us in touch with these people so we can hear their story and see if there's something we can do to help them. You're allowed one appeal by right. So everybody's already done that. Now, a lot of times people think, well, then that's it. You can no longer prove your innocence. That's not true. In New York State, and again, thanks to people like Derek Hamilton, who was wrongfully convicted and has since proven it, there's something called an actual innocence claim. You can bring anything forward that was outside of the trial, new evidence, to try to prove that you're actually innocent. And now the law is saying, if that's your claim and you meet your burden of proof to the court through documents, you're entitled to a hearing on that claim where you can call in witnesses, including the detectives, including anybody who testified at trial. And it's for a judge to determine then if your claims are believable based on what they hear at that hearing. And if they are, the judge has to grant your motion to vacate your conviction. And that's one avenue that we take to try to prove innocence. The other is through the DA's office in each county. And again, Brooklyn, in my opinion, is the leading county right now for that. And I know they've been inundated and they're swamped with work because of it. But they opened their doors under Ken Thompson and said, hey, we'll set up a department, which they did, and they'll review the convictions. We will work with that department to try to prove that this person who's claiming their innocence has evidence of it, and just take a look. You'll see the same thing. And that's our argument, essentially. But there are some legal restrictions to it, because if they've already filed motions using that same evidence and it was denied, we're done. There's not much we can do to help you at this point. That's why it's critical, if there's an inmate who has an innocence claim, find a lawyer, speak to us, call us, let us evaluate your case. Don't randomly file things with the court, making arguments, hoping you'll win, because if you don't win, you may block yourself from any further attempts. So it's very important, and most people are aware of that. I think most of the inmates I deal with, they're basically lawyers or smarter than a lot of lawyers that I've met over the years. So they're essentially aware of the restrictions of the legal system. My message really is don't give up hope. We actually went into Greenhaven a week and a half ago because we had heard about a case who had reached out to us years ago, and I went in, and as soon as they saw that we were coming from an innocence department to try to help them, the man who's 6'4" and 60 years old started bawling, started crying because he had given up, and that made it all worth it for me. Some of the best writers around, the appellate attorneys, we have an investigative staff that will dig up people from 25, 30 years ago, and it's strange and satisfyingly so, because we've found that sometimes we approach witnesses who you think are going to be hostile to you because they don't want to talk about something they lied about 25 years ago to make a deal for their brother. There's all kinds of reasons they told those lies, but they're almost happy sometimes to just get it off their chest and come clean. And if the time hadn't passed, they may not have been.
Yeah.
But we've found that that's often the case when we just find the witness and approach them in the right way.
People still are human. Yeah.
Thankfully.
Yes.
Thankfully.
Amen.
So, yeah.
You're listening to an interview with John Ramsey and Craig Phemister, and we are discussing wrongful conviction cases. I'm Liberty Green. When our conversation continues, we will talk about the broader innocence movement taking place right now and more details on the work that Ramsey and Phemister do. Welcome back. I'm Liberty Green, and we are talking with John Ramsey and Craig Phemister. Ramsey served 33 years, and Phemister has been a lawyer for 20 years, and they are both working to prove people innocent. So do you see this as a newer movement, the wrongful conviction movement, for lack of a better...
Well, I think
or has this always been going on, and we just haven't heard about it?
It's not a new situation. For us, it's new. For what we're doing.
There are several lawyers in New York State who have been successful over the years with individual cases proving this. But I think when there's movements like what Barry Scheck has done with the Innocence Project, and it becomes, nationwide recognition, and they've brought a lot of attention to this topic. There's an Innocence Conference put on by the Innocence Project every year, and they do it in different states. And I went to it once with an exonerated client, and it was amazing. And this was going back 7 years ago, maybe 8 years ago. It opened my eyes to really what's going on here, because at this conference, and I didn't know what I was getting into. I was just going there with the client. Hundreds of exonerated inmates showed up from all over the country, and they would each speak, and we would go to individual classes and learn about different parts of proving wrongful convictions. And maybe every state was represented in having convicts there that were wrongfully convicted. Now, certainly, again, a lot of it due to population, but New York is top 3 in the country for wrongful convictions and overturning them. The Conviction Review Unit, I think in the last 2 years, and my numbers may not be fully accurate, but I think they've overturned 16 in the last 2 years through their review unit, and that's fantastic. The district attorney's office themselves has said, well, we made a mistake 20 years ago. You're not guilty. And that's a big step to take. So the notion that, yes, in our judicial system, we make mistakes. We've known that forever. Right. I think what's new and what's happening now within the past year is judges starting to realize that these numbers are a lot higher maybe than what they wanted to admit or what they thought was possible. And by that, they've started to open their eyes, and that's all we can ask for. And we're starting to see the system open up to the possibility that there are a lot more wrongfully convicted people than what we'd like to think there are.
So right here and now, can you please let everybody know if they feel that they are innocent and want to reach out to you, how they can do that?
Well, the office is Napoli Shkolnik. We're at 360 Lexington Avenue, 11th floor, New York, New York, 10017. Our phone number, if you can have somebody call us, you can reach out, have somebody look us up on the internet. It's napolilaw.com. The phone number is 212-397-1000. My name again is Craig Femister, 212-397-1000.
So let me just reiterate again, if anybody were to contact you, you're not going to ask them for any money. This is something...
That's correct. We look at their case. We investigate their case. There's no money involved. If we get you free, we want to take the civil case, and we want to get you paid for the time you spent in jail, too. That's where we would get paid, only if you get paid at the end of the case.
How is that calculated?
Well, it's been interesting. The last 2 months, there have been 2 different federal judges in cases against the city of New York for malicious prosecution, have issued decisions that say that $1 million a year for each year you were incarcerated is a fair number. You can also sue the state that has a fund set up. If you were innocent and you had nothing to do with the crime, they will pay you as well. And it's such a tragedy to me. I mean, Ramsey went into jail when you were how old? 21? 21 years old. Doesn't get out until 55 years old. So from 21 to 55, which is, that's your entire life. All that's taken away from you. Any chance of, marriage, family, kids, grandkids, a career in something, it's all put on hold for 34 years, and you can't. What money makes up for that?
That's what I was wondering.
There's nothing.
Yeah.
It doesn't change anything.
Yeah. So that money is collectible.
It is
Yes.
collectible, and it's again, we've seen it. We've exonerated 2 out of those 15 cases already, and we are working now to get those clients paid.
That's why it's a blessing being with the firm that we with. Because I've personally witnessed Paul Napoli go into the office and tell Craig, you just let me know what you need. Wow. And a lot of firms, they're not doing that.
Yeah.
Anything we undertake, I tell them I don't undertake it unless I believe in it.
Yeah. And when he believes in it, I'll tell you, I'm getting texts at 6 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, and we're having conversations, and it's like, hey, you still up? Are you still there? And I am. Most of the time I am. And we, we're lining up the next day's projects and the goals and the things we want to accomplish for the week. I meet a guy like Ramsey who has the best positive mental attitude I've ever met. And this is a guy who was robbed of 33 years of his life. Makes me wake up in the morning looking forward to my day, not thinking, oh, what a miserable thing or this or that. I'm super thankful for that and for Ramsey because, I want to feel good about what I do. And when at least at the end of the day, I know, what? I freed somebody today who was innocent and spent 25 years in prison. There's nothing I can do but smile. There's nothing I can do but smile.
And I couldn't spend my time no better way.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things I could be doing, but this is great. It's my favorite saying. Things are going to be all right.
Yeah, we're going to be all right.
We're going to be all right.
Freedom. This is what I call freedom.
Freedom is everything.
Super great.
Thank you for coming and talking to us today.
Well, thank you
Thank
for
you.
having us. I appreciate it.
Okay, John Ramsey, is there anything else you'd like us to know?
Nah, just tell the brothers to keep their head up.
You tell them.
If I can help you with anything, legally, and if you have a case that you feel that, you wrongfully convicted or know you wrongfully convicted of, you need an investigator to work on your case, I'm here.